Weight is the significance, value, importance, or scale of every assessment and of every group of assessments. Why is weighting necessary? We have to aggregate data from multiple assessments to arrive at an overall mark or grade. In doing so, we must consider that assessments may not contribute equally to that overall mark. For instance, we have to recognize that some assessment types are worth more than others. We also have to recognize that certain categories may be more valuable than others, and some objectives may be more valuable than others. And we need to implement a principle called evidence of more recent. To understand how weight works, I'm going to use an analogy involving 6 Canadian coins, a 1-cent penny, a 5-cent nickel, 10-cent dime, 25-cent quarter, a 100-cent loonie, and a 200-cent toonie. Suppose within a given category, strand, or unit, I give 8 assessments, 3 quizzes, 2 labs, 2 assignments, and a test. And I give each a weight of 1. This is equivalent to giving a penny value to each assessment. But this creates a problem. The quizzes now dominate the overall calculation, and the test counts for very little. That's exactly opposite to what's supposed to happen. The most recent and the most significant assessments should dominate the calculation. Let's redo the weighting with more appropriate numbers. The quizzes, which are probably formative, get a weight of 1 each. Let's weight 1 lab at 5 and 1 lab at 10, just like a nickel and a dime. Let's weight 1 assignment at 10 and 1 at 25 as a dime and a quarter. And let's give the test a loonie, or a 100-cent coin. There's now a total of 153 weight points. Now the quizzes count for about 2%, the labs about 10%, the assignments about 23%, and the unit test dominates the unit with about 65% of the weight. Now, the overall mark for the unit will be most heavily influenced by the recent and significant items. Assessment weights may be entered on the new entry screen or on the multiple new screen in the yellow weight cells. If the weight equals out of option has been selected and saved under setup, this cell will appear automatically and the weight will match the base mark or out of. Uncheck the weight equals out of cell to edit. In MarkBook, entered weights must be integers in a range of 0 to 999. This gives teachers considerable flexibility in distinguishing between important and unimportant assessments. Of course, a 0 weight removes that assessment from the calculations. To access MarkBook's weight screens, click the Weight button at the bottom of the main frame, or go to Student Report or Class Report and click the Weight button at the lower right of the screen. In either case, MarkBook opens this screen. The table at the left lists the categories, the number of assessments in each, the target weight for each category as set up on the new Mark Set screen, and the actual percentage contribution of each category towards the overall mark. The pie graph gives a visual presentation of the actual contributions. Click the Edit Entry Weights button above the pie graph. This table displays data about the assessments within any selected category. To change the category, pop down the category menu and select a different category. All assessments within the selected category display in the table at the left. The Out of column may be removed by unchecking the Show cell. Each assessment has a weight listed in a weight column. The first assessment has a weight of 1, just like a penny. The second assessment has a weight of 100, like a loonie or 100-cent coin. The sum of the weights is given just above the table at 553 weight points. So, the ecology terms assessment with a weight of 1 counts for 1 out of 553, which is 0.2% of the category and less than 1/10 of 1% of the overall mark. Conversely, the ecology test, the second assessment, has a weight of 100. It contributes 100 out of 553, or 18% of the category and 4.5% of the overall mark. Weights may be changed on this screen. For instance, if I think the bonding project should be weighted more heavily, I can click in the weight cell, type in a new number, push enter on the keyboard, and all of the calculations change. Notice that the project now counts for 30.6% of the category, whereas the other significant items have been lowered from 18 down to 15. However, the overall contribution of the category is still locked in at 25%. Another way to edit weights is to use the two tables at the right. The first table shows what will happen if the weight of the current assessment is lowered. The second table shows the impact of raising the weight. So if I decide on this bonding project I want to lower the weight to 160 points, double-click the 160, that inserts that number into the appropriate cell in the table on the left, and all of the calculations are redone. To save the edits, click the Save button at the lower right. To remove the edits and go back to original values, click Cancel Exit. However, it's possible to temporarily save the edits in order to examine the results on other screens. Then come back to the weight screen and click Restore to remove the edits, or click Save to keep them permanently. There are many misconceptions about weight. We strongly recommend reviewing section 8-9 in the MarkBook Reference Manual.